Welcome to The Worthy Woman, a podcast for the intuitive, ambitious woman who's ready to regulate her nervous system, reconnect with her body, and rise to the next level of success, health, and purpose. I'm your host, Jo, manual osteopath, holistic coach, and nervous system guide, here to walk with you as you heal from the inside out and create a life and a business that actually feels good. On this podcast, we explore the connection between your body, emotions, subconscious patterns, and your ability to lead, create, and live from your worth. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Worthy Woman podcast. My name is Johanna. If you are new here, welcome. And if you're an old friend, welcome back. We today are going to be talking about being afraid to post online, maybe not being able to show up consistently online, being real online, being vulnerable online. And we're going to talk about the fact that this is all rooted back into the fear of being seen. This topic was inspired by a client session that I had yesterday and my own personal journey, actually. So we're going to talk about the fear of being seen, kind of what it is, how I worked through it with a client, what her experience was, and maybe this is something that you are going to relate to. So let's kind of dive in. So a lot of us think that, what we typically think and what we feel, and this is what my client was feeling, this is also what I was feeling, is like, I'm scared of what people are going to think if I post certain things, right? I feel like an imposter. I don't necessarily know if I know what I'm talking about. And what if people call me out, right? Maybe you're like, I don't even know who would care, right? Like, I don't, who's going to care if I post these things? Or maybe it is a fear of people are going to care too much. And maybe you want to be consistent, but you just can't. And this is a big one that I noticed, and this is what I experienced. We'll get into that a little bit later, but there's this like being able to show up consistently and share yourself and share the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, right? Share all of the things, is rooted in being able to potentially face criticism. However, I feel like it's not really, it's like we're afraid of the criticism, but that criticism isn't necessarily real. Okay, so like the more real I've become online, and I still have growth to do in this area, but the more I've shown up as myself, the more I've had a lot of praise and people have been supporting me and, kind of cheering me on. So underneath all of these thoughts is this deeper energetic imprint. And so there's this fear of judgment. There's this fear of rejection. There's this fear of being misunderstood. There's this fear of being too much or not enough, being a fraud, right? Like fear of imposter. Like, am I the person who's actually capable of doing this? And is someone going to call me out? You know what I mean? Especially when there's this whole like fake it till you make it type of energy in business, right? Where it's like you have to be confident, but sometimes you're like, I don't maybe have the social proof yet. Like I do, but I know it, I believe in it. But to say that I've made this change in a bunch of people, like if you're just starting, you might not have that, right? And there's also this fear of like who you are is going to be really exposed. So showing up online, especially if you're in like a healing industry or a business that requires, your face, your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your whatever you're sharing, those are like personal in a way, right? And sometimes, like I'm doing in this podcast episode, you're sharing like a personal story or whatever, and you're having to put yourself out there and be kind of vulnerable, and that can be scary, right? Especially when we've got like family and friends and coworkers and whoever like kind of watching us. It can kind of be a little bit nerve-wracking, right? And it can feel unsafe, right? And so these fears and these feelings and these thoughts aren't actually thoughts. Like they're not actually logical. These are things that are stored in our body, right? And that was what my client was dealing with. So we sat down yesterday to do a business energetic breakthrough session, which is like a 90-minute session. And she was, she wanted to kind of like show up more real in her, like show more of her real life and her experiences and things that she was going through. in her business, because she's kind of in a healing industry. And so, she has personal stories and things that she's gone through, which is obviously why she's wanting to help people, right? And she wants to share more of her healing journey, the things that she's moved through. And she also wanted to be more consistent showing up on her stories. But she felt kind of like blocked, maybe a little bit resistant, nervous about things, right? And she wasn't really like logically, she's like, I know this isn't like, this doesn't make sense, right? And she does know that she also is already sharing some parts of herself, right? But and I said, well, it's because it's your body's belief. It's not really your mind's belief. We can talk ourselves kind of out of anything, just like we can kind of talk ourselves into things. And this is why sometimes the mindset piece or like the journaling and things like that, if we don't have a tool to energetically shift our state after, it kind of just it falls flat. Like it just kind of goes nowhere. It's like you're inspired for a day, maybe a week, and then it just like you kind of revert back to the same old shit, right? So I have for these sessions, like they do an intake. And so when I was reading through it, all of these signs pointed back to this like fear of being seen, even though she hadn't named it that way. Okay. So she was dealing with a lot of like, I'm worried what people are going to think, overthinking things, afraid of sharing her story, or just like resistant to it. Right. And so what I think many women don't realize is that this fear of posting or sharing parts of themselves is actually this deeper fear of being seen, right? It's kind of more rooted in this. And I struggled with this earlier in the year. I think it was like back in like February. I was just noticing that I was like struggling with showing up consistently online. And I would go through bouts of like, oh, I don't have anything to share. And I would make like a whole story about it. And then I feel like I would kind of spiral a little bit too. And I didn't have a ton of creative ideas at certain times. Again, I would make a story kind of out of it and get in this like rut. And feeling like an imposter has like always been a thing for me. And I cleared this belief, or at least part of it. And this year is crazy because like when I look back to how I've shown up online, as much as there's absolutely room for improvement, I have been more consistent showing up online and posting and having even just the fact that I was able to like come up with this podcast episode today on my own is like, not something that I necessarily had the capacity or the space for to be able to come up with, again, just like an idea and be like, yeah, I'm going to post this tomorrow, right? So that wasn't happening a year ago. And when I cleared this fear, and I've done a ton of energetic and nervous system work this year on myself through my training, but also like through my Reiki training, but also just in general, like I've been working with people and working honestly just even with myself, like to be like, okay, I know I need this. This is a big part of me. Especially I'm in human design, I'm a projector. So energy is a big thing for me because I absorb a lot, or I can absorb a lot if I'm not protecting my energy. And so when I started to clear this fear and this story of this fear of being seen, I started to be able to show up more consistently. I was more authentic, more real, and I wasn't like overthinking every post, right? Like I think that was a big thing, was I wasn't questioning, and I was having ideas and then I was just rolling with it. You know what I mean? And it's because this part of me had been kind of unlocked where it's like I wasn't having that fear of being seen, right? And so like mentally we know that this is not a logical thing. Like there's really no fear of like being online. Sure, people could criticize you, but even that, like I think logically a lot of us are like, well, I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like I don't like, and this is what my client was even saying. She's like, I don't actually care. Like I know if this were to happen, I'd be like, screw you kind of thing. Like it's fine. But she's like, but I'm still afraid. And I think it's like, because again, I'm like, your body and your nervous system store these old emotional experiences of maybe a time when you didn't feel safe to share certain things. And this could be like your upbringing or an experience, or even just like the way you were parented or the way society made you feel, as a whole. It doesn't even have to be like a very specific thing, right? And so if you grew up feeling judged, maybe misunderstood, maybe criticized or responsible for other people's reactions, showing up online might feel very dangerous, right? And so in this session with my client, what we did was we obviously found, the fact that like she had this fear of being seen. But I was like, okay, you're not really going to get much from us. Like, we did chat for quite a while, but we usually in these sessions, like the first 60 minutes-ish, 45 to 60 minutes is chatting, figuring out what's going on, what's coming up, maybe making a game plan for like what's happening. And then the last like 45 to 30 minutes or 30 to 45 minutes is a Reiki clearing, okay? And this is done distantly. It's over Zoom. And what I was like, okay, well, she's not, like, your body needs the shift, right? Like, her mind, she could talk herself in circles about it all day. So I was like, we need the physical shift, the energetic shift. So we did the Holy Fire Reiki session. So we did the energetic clearing. And what was interesting was her heart chakra was blocked. And this can be a fear of just even expressing emotions, right? Of being vulnerable, opening yourself up to people, places, and things, right? And once her heart chakra restored an element of rebalancing here, all the upper chakras, so like throat, third eye, and crown, all opened up, right? So then that's going to help her express herself. That's going to help her with ideas, her intuition, clarity, feeling like more connected a little bit to like the things that she wants to do in her business. And then I helped her reground to kind of rebalance and kind of restabilize those bottom three chakras to help her feel kind of safe, secure in her space and in her physical world. And so this, I mean, well, obviously, like, I just had the session with her yesterday, so we'll see how this affects her over time. But just the energetic piece, and this is what I find so fascinating, is like we can have these beliefs, and then it's like our physical body can be doing things that kind of like represent or show those patterns in us, right? Like a heart chakra being blocked and then a fear of being seen, right? There's this vulnerability piece that's kind of missing. And so again, this fear of being seen is really rooted in safety and not our strategy of like our content strategy and marketing and all that kind of stuff. Like, absolutely, those things are important, and you should totally have a coach for those types of things. I know I do, but there's also the physical and the energetic side of business that we need to look at as well, right? So in a business and energetic breakthrough session, like I said, so we identify kind of like the core belief, the core, we'll say problem or issue that's showing up for you that you're struggling with. And we kind of like, I usually kind of be like, oh, okay, well, this is this, right? Like I kind of try to, kind of like with her, she was talking about all these different, we'll say symptoms that she was feeling, but I was like, this is a fear of being seen, right? And so sometimes we can identify a core limiting belief. Maybe it's a nervous system pattern. It could be all kinds of different things depending on obviously what's going on for you. But we identify the root of what's going on. Then we bring Reiki energy into the body, helping heal and release any of these beliefs. There might be emotional release at this time. And sometimes it happens during the session, but sometimes it can happen afterwards. And this will just like rebalance and restore a sense of balance within your energetic field, which is not only going to help your physical body, your mental body, and your emotional body, but also just like the things that you're, like the actions that now you're going to feel like you can take in your business, right? And so this is going to help you feel safe to show up. It's going to help you feel like you can actually start to make strides and movement in your business. And this all works because, again, just talking about it isn't enough, right? Like, fear isn't in our mind, it's in our body. Like, it feels like it's in our mind, but it's usually because we're not in our body, right? So we got to like restore that sense of balance between the mind and the body. And you have to clear that energetic imprint. So I'm going to be opening up actually 3 or 4 business energetic breakthrough sessions for women who want to clear some of their fears, their blocks, their challenges when it comes to what they're struggling with in business for the month of December. So they are $97. It's an hour and a half. And I combine kind of like my coaching, nervous system work, and Reiki to kind of shift the blocks that are holding you back. Okay, so it's about, again, we'll say half the time is the coaching and the working through things, and the other half is the Reiki and the getting some kind of like intuitive guidance messages and things that need to kind of be cleared and processed to help you move forward. And sometimes it's related to your business, what needs to be cleared, and sometimes it's not, because we can absorb energetic debris from other areas of our life. It's not always like business related necessarily. It could be something totally else that you need to like emotionally let go of something or just process it. But that's going to help you because it's rebalancing you and your energy. And like I talk about in my Elevated and Embodied program, you know, you are a reflection of your business. So like the state that you're in is the state that your business is in, right? And so we have to clear these things. So if you would like to claim one of these 3 or 4 spots for the month of December, it's really going to be up till like Christmas, just based on my own schedule, then feel free to message me on Instagram. You can also email me. All that will be in the show notes of this episode. I also, on January 2nd, you guys will see this coming out over the next few days on my Instagram, but on January 2nd, I'm going to be hosting a group event. Yeah, we'll call it an event. I think that's what it is. It's called the 2026 Energetic Reset. So we're going to be together for like 60 to 90 minutes, depending on how long we've got, like how long it takes us. But basically it's going to be kind of almost like a little bit of a workshop. So we're going to be talking about the energy of 2026. This is on January 2nd, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned that. Talking about the energy of 2026, then we're going to be looking at what we want to let go of from 2025, what's not serving us anymore, what we don't want to carry like further. Look at what we're trying to create and manifest in 2026. And then we're going to do a Holy Fire Reiki experience for the group to help you clear, again, any of the limiting beliefs, any of the energetic debris, the thoughts, the emotions, things like that are holding you back from bringing in those things in 2026. So we're going to do the energetic work alongside, we'll say, the mindset work we're basically setting intentions, right? And this is going to help set you up for 2026. You could come with a business goal, a personal goal. Like I'm leaving it very open to whatever your intention is for the year. It could be a couple things. But we're going to be working through that on January 2nd. It'll be at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So keep an eye out for that information. I will actually put the sign up link down below if you're interested in that. It's going to be $33. So it's super affordable, super reasonable, and there will be a replay. So if you miss it, you can always kind of go back to it. So that's what I got for today's episode. I'd love to know if this resonated with you. Feel free to message me. Like I said, messaging me on Instagram. I'm always on Instagram. So like, feel free to shoot me a message or a DM there. I would love to chat with you. Get to know that you even listen to the podcast, because that's kind of the funny part with podcasts is like you don't really know who's listening. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I will be back next week for another episode, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I hope you guys have a good one. If you guys are curious about any of my offers, those are down below, and I will see you guys next time.